Hi, I'm Aiden, and I had the chance to speak and play with the world record holder for demolitions in Rocket League, and he has a rather interesting story. I've been following Rocket League for quite some time, and only now are we really starting to talk about demolitions. Demolitions are probably the most overlooked mechanic in Rocket League, with some players even calling for it to be removed from the game. Apart from Rocket Sledge, demolitions have received so little attention you'd almost forget about them when thinking about Rocket League. Until now. Recently, Sunless Khan uploaded a video about the changing meta in Rocket League, which specifically focused around demolitions and how they can be used to great effect in competitive play. This isn't completely new, as a handful of players have been doing this for a while, just not enough of them to have popularized it. You may have heard of Rocket Sledge, who is one of the most well-known demo players around, but this story isn't about him. If you're a demolition player, you may know about the Boom Squad or the Sledge Central group, which lead the demolition community in Rocket League. They released an unofficial leaderboard for the world ranking for demolitions, which is pretty much the only leaderboard there is for demos, so despite being unofficial, it's as close to official as we're gonna get. Except there's only one problem. It's wrong. With almost 100,000 demos at the time of making this video, President Donald Bump holds the world record for demos, yet unless you're very active on the Rocket League subreddit, you probably haven't heard of him. And he's not recognised by the Boom Squad or Sledge Central, as they refuse to add him to their leaderboards. So who is President Donald Bump, and why haven't you heard of him? The story is a little controversial, and even had me a bit disappointed with the community of Rocket League. I mean, it's a great community, but it turns out it's not flawless. And neither are its content creators. Let me tell you why. It was a cold winter afternoon, and I was chilling at home playing some 1v1s when a friend of mine, August, who appears in my Crossbar Challenge video, messaged me on Discord telling me he knows the world record holder for demos in Rocket League. He suggested I should speak to him. So of course I said yes, I mean why not? Seems like a good opportunity. So just as I was making my lunch, I got a Discord call from someone I didn't know, but I decided to answer it anyway. It turned out it was President Donald Bump, and for almost 2 hours we talked about his Rocket League career and his experience with the community. President Donald Bump started out as a competitive gamer playing Overwatch. He did this for a few years, but something wasn't quite right for him. The game seemed a little stale, and the meta was very rigid, meaning just one player could throw the entire game by not sticking to the meta of 2 DPS, 2 healers, and 2 tanks. So he gave it up and moved on to other games, cycling through them, playing titles like PUBG, which he felt didn't really have a big competitive future. President Donald Bump really wanted a game that would stick around for a while and grow so that he could grow with it. So that's when he decided to play more Rocket League, a game he'd been playing on and off at around Champion 1 in solo standard. Except this time he wanted to focus solely on demos, and therefore created a new account to run these plays. His motivation? He wanted to create an online persona, a controversial twist on the already controversial President of the USA, Donald Trump, and this is how President Donald Bump was born. And for 1.5 years, he queued solo standard, going only for bumps, literally every single game. His opponents hated him, and so did his teammates. You'd think this would put you off doing it, but all that salt from other players just fueled Donald Bump even more, as the persona was clearly working. Donald Bump was undoubtedly a troll. It's pretty obvious that someone who demos a lot won't be liked. There's a lot of stigma around demos, and I know why. It's not just because getting demoed is annoying, or because the player is doing unconventional rotations. I seriously believe the real reason is because 99% of players are focused on the ball and scoring goals, and of course, the current meta. The current meta doesn't really include bumps and demos. Sure, there will be an occasional bump or demo to secure a goal, but it's not highly sought after and is considered a fairly risky play at times. This means players don't really practice demos and are, understandably, not very good at it. Predicting another player's movement can be quite challenging, especially as you rank up. Players spend more and more time in the air, and especially around C3, players manage to maintain a very high amount of momentum and move around the field with a lot of agility. For 1.5 years, Donald Bump relentlessly went for demos, getting better and better at it every day, perfecting his spawn demo timing, getting upwards of 20 demos a game. The amount of demos he was getting was on its own quite impressive, but he wasn't winning a lot of games and was hovering around Champ 1 for quite a long time. This is where the controversy comes in. Despite having the most demos, players in the community, especially in the niche community of demos such as Rocket Sledge and his Boomer Squad, refused to recognize Donald Bump because he was on a second account and he wasn't playing at a very high level. In my opinion, having the most demos is simply having the most demos. Yet he continued to be criticized and put down, many content creators blatantly ignoring his claims at a world record. The rest of the community saw him for what he was, a troll, and would also chastise him despite his pretty impressive clips. Again, the demo stigma. Donald Bump had to take a break. Putting so much work into something and getting so little back is exhausting. But of course, he couldn't stop there. It didn't have to be the end. Donald Bump realised his persona wasn't really working within the Rocket League community. The kind of negativity that it embodied was off-putting to most. Tied in with his lack of recognition for playing at C1, it was time for Donald Bump to make a change. For the last 7 months, President Donald Bump has been playing much more competitively and taking the game much more seriously, and has decided to drop the asshole troll persona to become a little more wholesome. Okay, wholesome is probably the wrong word, but let's just say less of a troll. President Donald Bump is now playing at Champion 3 with 2 regular teammates who are driven to create this new meta, which I like to think of as high pressure defending. If you have played or know much about football, you'll know about man marking. Every player marks another player. Except if you play very high pressure, you commit more than one man to the opponents. And now this can leave you a little exposed at the back, but it can come with very high reward by putting players under increased pressure, making sure there's less room for mistakes. This builds a psychological pressure within players, and that forces them in turn to make more mistakes. This is exactly what President Donald Bump is starting to see in his competitive play. There is room for this high pressure defending in Rocket League. There are rotations which will work and accommodate this kind of play, and allow it to become very, very rewarding. Donald Bump has spent time studying pro players and RLCS matches, watching the rotations. He brought up a specific moment while watching Squishy Muffins. He told me that Squishy rotated early, allowing the opponent to score, and could rather have delayed the rotation and gotten a fairly simple demo on the opponent who scored, turning over possession by either forcing that player to make a mistake or be removed from the field entirely for a few seconds. Now most people would see Squishy's rotation as correct, and simply rotating well. And you would be right to think so, in the current meta. But what if he did go for that demo? The other team wouldn't have scored, their offensive rotation would break down, Squishy's team would now be in possession of the ball and have a chance to get a quick goal. President Donald Bump has been testing this relentlessly in competitive games to perfect the high pressure rotation and figure out how it can be used most effectively. Not only is he getting demos on players and winning back the ball for his team, or creating scoring opportunities by breaking down their defensive rotation, he's also starving his opponents of boost by taking their corner boosts. But the most impressive symptom, and I say symptom for a good reason, the most impressive symptom of his demo play is the psychological anxiety he puts into the minds of the opponents. The opponents become so aware of the danger of being demoed that they are hesitating a lot more, they're rotating differently and ineffectively, and sometimes even randomly jumping into the air whenever they hear a car behind them. Simply jumping in the air like this almost has the same effect as being demoed, as for a good 1 to 1.5 seconds the player is hovering in the air and unable to make a play. At least not a good one anyway. The work and effort that President Donald Bump has put into this is alone worthy of recognition. But he has more demos than anyone else in the world, and is a pioneer of what could be a new meta in Rocket League. And after speaking to him, I could tell he is not just some random asshole trying to troll people online. He's a pretty smart guy with a genuinely friendly personality who just wanted to create an online character within the world of Rocket League, which is no different to how comedians or actors play other characters, or even content creators playing a role. Take Disaster Music for example, you may know him as Pink Guy. or even Dr. Disrespect. President Donald Bump is extremely determined to become the best at what he does and to further develop his style of play. He has the best of luck from me, and I for one definitely recognise him as the world record holder for demolitions in Rocket League. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, like and comment. See ya.